Hi, I'm Sam Vokes at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, which won't be anything like I thought it might be this time last week. So much has happened, hasn't it, in the last 7 days. The team's through to the fourth round of the FA Cup. We found out our opponents in the next stage of the competition. The manager's left. We've had a couple of new signings, and probably other stuff's happened as well. I hope you're well. Lots to get through in the next hour, including we'll hear from Sam Grace, who's the caretaker manager in charge of, at the very least, Saturday's trip to Mansfield. We'll hear his thoughts on how his week has been as well. We'll get the thoughts of a former midfielder. Martyn Lee joins us, who was in the Legends Lounge on Friday at the Portsmouth game. Good to catch up with him. We'll also hear from Emma Kern, Wycombe Wanderers women's defender, speaking to us after their first defeat in quite some time against league leaders Ascot. They've had a new signing as well. We've got our match briefing from Phil in a few moments' time as well. But first, I'm very pleased to be welcome to the show once again, friend of the show, Wycombe Wanderers captain Jack Grimmer. Thank you so much for being with us on well, how would you sum up this week?
Yeah, to be honest, hearing you sort of go over what's happened in January, it's been a crazy month already, and we're only halfway through, which is incredible, to be honest. But yeah, it's been a hectic week, not just the first few weeks in the first week in January, but obviously this week with the gaffer leaving and going to Luton, which he goes with our best wishes. You know what I mean? He deserves the chance to manage in the Championship, because he just works so incredibly hard. People probably wouldn't believe how hard he works, but so he definitely deserves the opportunity. But for us, I've tried to put out the mantra, it's business as usual, although there has been a lot of change. But we have to navigate this period as best we can and continue with the momentum that we've built for the first half of the season.
I imagine from a player's point of view, it's so important not to be kind of destabilised by this sort of big change that I guess, especially sort of none of you really saw coming either.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was very, very fast-paced, as you can imagine, as football always is. It's a very fast-paced industry. But as I said, little did I know that my last game was against Blackpool was my last game under the manager. I just think it's... I don't even know if he even knew that the last game at Pompey was to be his last. But as you say, it's it's sort of how we navigate this period, this tricky period, as best we can. I've no doubt that the club have started their search for a new manager and to bring in that stability for us. And they're probably working tirelessly, because I'd imagine that January was busy anyway with bringing in signings. But just have to go that step further and go out and get a manager to hopefully see us across the line and give us a successful end to the season.
Because does it feel, is there sort of extra pressure in a way, because you've got to kind of carry on what he started in a way, and obviously a fantastic run that you've been on, and obviously where you are in the table as well? Yeah,
absolutely. I think, to be honest, the rest of the league will probably be looking at us delighted with how we're kind of getting picked apart at the minute, but it's up to us and the players in the door to make sure that, like you said, we do ourselves and the club justice, because we've worked so hard to get in this position. The first half of the season was pretty brutal, especially during the Christmas period. But we've put ourselves in such a strong position that it's up to us to sort of take the pressure on our shoulders and try our best to maintain the standards that we've set in the first half, because no one wants it all to be for nothing.
Is it quite nice in a way that run of games is now sort of, it's sort of eased off a little, because I think it was 6 in 16 games or something?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just relieved that we didn't lose the gaffer during that period, because playing every 3 days is not welcome at the best of times. So, having no manager in place wouldn't have been ideal. But if anything, now we've got the tricky trip to navigate to Mansfield, and then thankfully we don't have a midweek game, so that gives us a bit of some breathing space, which after the busy Christmas period, I can assure you is much needed. But yeah, it's up to us to sort of business as usual, as I say. And I feel like I'm very lucky as captain because I have great people around me all the time in the changing room, that we have great personalities, which during these times can be tricky. During these tricky times, sorry, I heavily rely on these people, and it's the people that don't get the plaudits, but very, very important to keeping the team going.
And nice for you in a way as well as a squad, I guess, to have played on Friday. So you've had that sort of almost kind of extra time, if you like, to prepare for Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we thankfully got some days off, which, like I say, was very much needed. I think the Christmas period took a lot out of our squad. We've got injuries, and I've had niggles, and some of the boys have played every game through Christmas and New Year, and I think they very much needed a break. So, I would like to think that we'll rock up to Mansfield a bit refreshed, having had the weekend off, to spend time with family and friends. And like I keep saying, it's about what we can do now to make sure that we navigate this period, this difficult period, as best we can, because sooner or later a new manager will come in and the new normal will be in place, and we have to keep moving forward and striving for what we all want to achieve this season.
So what would be your message to fans at this time?
To absolutely just stick with us, stick with it, get behind the team. I feel like it's a great opportunity to galvanise. Not that I feel like there was any disconnect, don't get me wrong. I just feel like during the times of struggle and the times of change, it's a real opportunity to galvanise everyone together. I've been lucky enough, I've seen some nice comments to myself and the team on social media, and it really doesn't go unnoticed. I think the support that we feel from the stands and on social media, and when people say to you in the street, it really goes. I'm not going to lie, it goes a long way, especially during these tricky moments, when you kind of feel that things are going against you, to be honest. But I think that to come out of this with a feeling and a sense of togetherness is the most important thing. And
especially with yourself as captain, it must be great to, as you say, really feel that backing and kind of sense that there's great optimism moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen today just that Magnus Vestergaard has gotten announced, and the club are making signings, and the club are making additions to the squad, and which is important given our position in the league. We want to. It's not all just about losing the players and the manager. We have made some good signings and some good additions. So hopefully they can hit the ground running as quickly as sort of Aaron Morley and Caleb Taylor did, because that would be amazing. But again, having said that, they need time to adjust to the English game, I've no doubt, and it's a big cultural change for them. But yeah, to go back to your point, I really do feel that it's a typical saying, there's strength in numbers, and I feel the support is valued more than ever during this tricky time.
And great sense that the owners are so ambitious for the club as well. We've already seen what they've invested in the training ground and the academy, and these two signings as well. It really bodes well for the future. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think they've been very vocal about their futuristic targets, and it's great to see that coupled with the short-term targets being met. To be honest, I think it's the academy is great, but we all want, I think just everyone in life wants success instantly nowadays, and like you said there, to be rewarded with the players that they're signing in the January window, I think they're pulling no punches. They're spending money where they feel that it's necessary, and it's great to see not just the long-term goals of the club being met, but the short-term goals, and they really do seem across all bases.
Well, it's great to hear from you as always on the show, but especially at this time. Thank you so much for speaking to us, and we wish you and the team all the best on Saturday.
Yeah, no, top man, mate. Thank you very much. Pleasure as always.
Really appreciate your time. Captain Jack Grimmer speaking to us here on Wycombe Sound. Let's get the latest from Phil with our match briefing. And as we said to Jack a short time ago, a lot seems to have happened since we last spoke.
Yeah, indeed. Transfer window is open, and obviously the manager has moved on halfway through the season, and wish him all the very best in the Championship at Luton Town, along with Tomo, Lee Harrison and Ben Cern. So, yeah, I think Wycombe Wanderers doing so well has obviously attracted a lot of clubs to Matt Bloomfield, and this is what's happened. So the price of success, I guess you could say.
No, absolutely. It just goes to highlight, doesn't it, in football, how how well it's. I guess a great advert for him as to how well he's done at the club, both as a player, but also more recently as a manager.
Yeah, I think the calendar year of 2024, Wycombe were phenomenal. He took that time to find his identity as well in the months leading up to 2024. But when it clicked together, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I think it just goes to show that you need to give young managers an amount of time. It didn't take him too long to get up to speed, but when he did, it was brilliant, and and we wish him all the best.
And he'll always be, of course, a fan's favourite, both as a manager, but also during his time as a player and captain, of course, as well.
Yeah. I think in this era now, I don't think anyone, probably at any club, is going to sort of get anywhere near to the level of service in terms of time at the club and impact. 21 years across being a player, coach, and manager will be difficult to imagine anyone at any club sort of getting anywhere near those sorts of figures. So again, it's a one-off.
And so pleasing as well, I think, for the club, as to what he's kind of learned and achieved during his time at Adams Park, and now what he can take into his future role as well.
Yeah, and I think more importantly from our point of view, it's where he leaves us. Second in the table, halfway through the season, is a fantastic foundation for whoever's next to build upon. I think with the level of investment in League One this season, to be in the position we are at this stage is just fantastic and very exciting for whatever comes next.
And it must be quite different, I guess, at the training ground this week, or has it been quite sort of preparation as usual?
Very different. Obviously, when you're leader of any organisation, whatever industry you're in, when there's change at the top, there's change everywhere, I guess, throughout. But in terms of Sam Gray stepping up, this is a man who's been involved within the coaching setup now for some years, with great success with the development squad, knows the players well, knows the systems. So was the obvious choice for the leadership group to pass the reins to in this interim period. And it'll be a tough game at Mansfield on Saturday, as it would have been for whoever was in charge. But yeah, Sam Grace knows the group well, knows the club incredibly well. So we'll all be behind him on Saturday.
And obviously, you mentioned the transfer window being open. Since we last spoke, there have been two arrivals, and here's something I don't think we've discussed before: two from abroad.
Yes, both Danes. So one who's Anders, who's been playing in Norway with Molde, and recently Magnus, who joins us from the Danish top division too. Very different sort of style of recruitment that we've been used to. And which, again, things change, don't they? Circumstances change, huge amounts of change around the club. We've been learning lots about the academy and the establishment of that. But we're continuing to see investment into the first team squad as well, and some serious investment in this window. And in terms of the recruitment strategy, a big change too. But look, the two lads, Anders and Magnus, I've met them, interviewed them for the club this week. Both seem to be exceptionally strong characters, and a real addition, certainly off the pitch, and I look forward to seeing them on the pitch to see what they can do too. But from the level they've come from to where they're coming to as well, I think it all bodes well for Wycombe Wanderers. So let's see what happens.
And obviously, since we last spoke, we've progressed to the fourth round of the FA Cup, and then since then, found out our opponents at the next stage of the competition.
Yeah, I think a great night under the lights at Adams Park last Friday to beat Championship opposition, and a really good game as well. I thought, the first 10 minutes, it looked like we might be sort of up against the team playing against a division below them, but they say goals change games, and Wycombe's goal certainly did that. It was one-way traffic after Wycombe went 1-0 up, and the Pompey fans I've spoken to since are sort of livid really about their own team's performance, which they followed up with another heavy defeat in the league. I think a really strong performance by Wycombe Wanderers, and I don't want to say that Pompey were poor. I think Wycombe sort of really put them under it, and that's why they went through. And then obviously much excitement about the draw, being in the draw on a Sunday evening was great, and then we get drawn away from home against either Preston or Charlton, and it's going to be Preston. They won their game on Tuesday night, rearranged from the frozen off game on the Saturday. And look, I'll be brutally honest, it's not the most exciting cup draw that we would have hoped for. We've played Preston, I think, twice in the cup in recent history. And yeah, it's away from home. It's a long away trip in the north. Not ideal. But what I will say is it's winnable. It's a winnable tie, like we showed against Pompey. And that's really exciting for the club because we can go into that with some real hope and aspirations of finding ourselves in the fifth round. This is only the fifth time we've been in the fourth round in the club's history. It would have been lovely to get a Man United away or something like that, or a real romantic tie. But what instead we've got is a long away trip, but a real potential chance to progress to the next round, which we've got to relish that and attack it, and hopefully can be in that draw again and have equal excitement as the balls are plucked out of that whatever that cylinder is they use now these days. And there we have it. I think I remember Martyn and Michael Owen were the two guys doing the draw when we drew Tottenham away. Martyn was there with Dion Dublin this time, and we've got not the most attractive tie, but a winnable one. That's how I'll leave it, I think.
So it's a very good summary, I think. And I guess fans are being not only of the club, but also outside. It'll be interesting to see how things pan out on Saturday up at Mansfield, who themselves are on a decent run.
Yeah, look, there's so much change in this month for every team in the Football League because of the transfer window, and also the shelf life of managers and coaches these days as well. I doubt we'll be the only club going through changes in managerial positions in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So no doubt there'll be more as well as the games roll on. But look, there's going to be a lot of change around. There'll be teams who'll be thinking, right, we're in a good position, and managers may be sort of going to their owners or chairman or chair people or whoever it is to say, back us now. I can get us into the automatics or the playoffs of whatever division they're in. But look, Wycombe Wanderers, there's been a change at the top this week, but there's been 2 big signings as well to report on. And Wycombe Wanderers currently second in League One. Tough trip to Mansfield coming up, but look, I don't think there's any easy games in League One. It was interesting, looking back at our game at Burton the other month where they were bottom of the table, and that was a brutal game, and Wycombe won it 3-2. It didn't look like a top v bottom tie that night, and I think that game sort of summed up League One for me. There's no easy games. There's some incredibly tough games as well with the likes of Birmingham and Wrexham, and they'll be coming up against us again in the coming weeks. So look, all to play for. I think many people are surprised to see Wycombe where they are at this stage of the season, but with that surprise comes a change in attitude and approach, I think, and we've certainly seen that in the last sort of 5-6 weeks. Certainly teams coming to Adams Park, setting up differently, perhaps being more satisfied with the point, and I think that attitude has definitely moved on from the summer, where people maybe saw Wycombe Wanderers as perhaps a mid-table League One team, and certainly in terms of where our sort of budget on sort of the player budget is, I think that's probably where you would put us in terms of financial spend, certainly at the start of the season. But yeah, I think attitudes are starting to change now due to the strong performance so far this season.
Well, enjoy the game on Saturday, and I really appreciate your time. Great to chat to you.
No worries. Cheers, Colin.
Pleasure to have Phil on the show as always. You'll be able to hear him giving us live commentary on Saturday up at Mansfield, and we'll be chatting to him on next week's show as well. Do check out Wanderers TV for some more great content, including interviews with the new signings as well. We'll be chatting to Martyn Lee in a couple of moments' time.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire, and on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
The Chair Boys are flying high in League One this season, so come on down to Adams Park, get behind the boys and play your part in what will be a memorable season for Wycombe Wanderers.
71 minutes on the clock, up against Jed Stitt, dancing around on his line.
Take your time, Rich. Take your time.
Kone. Here he comes.
It's been goals for the Chair Boys so far this season. Come on down to Adams Park to play your part and get behind the boys. Head to tickets.wwfc.com and use the code SOUND on booking for a chance to win a gantry experience at a Wycombe Wanderers home match. Come on, you Blues.
Part 2 of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show still to come. We'll hear from caretaker manager Sam Grace talking about what it's been like at the club this week and looking ahead to Saturday's trip to Mansfield. We'll also be catching up with Emma Kern, Wycombe Wanderers defender, who speaking to us on the back of their first defeat since the opening day of the season in the league against league leaders Ascot. They've also made a new signing as well. But first, with thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, great to speak to someone who we've had on the show before and spoke to Phil on Friday as well at the Legends Lounge as a special guest, which was, of course, Wycombe Wanderers' third round victory against Portsmouth, which turned out to be Matt Bloomfield's last game in charge, although we didn't know that at the time. Very pleased to welcome back to the show Martyn Lee. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Colin.
It's a real pleasure to speak to you, not least because the next sort of 15 minutes or so would be quite quiet without it. But brilliant to speak to you as well, and not least it must be great for you to be back at Adams Park for the FA Cup as well on Friday.
Yeah, it was it was nice to be back. It was a good evening. It turned out to be a great evening actually for Wycombe. Yeah, when I got asked by Phil to come in, I must admit I did struggle with the Legends label, but I'll take it.
Certainly a fan's favourite at the very least, though.
When I got there, he did actually say that Bale was coming in, so I thought, well, there is an actual legend, but yeah, if he wants to call me legend for the night, then that's fine.
And really nice for you to be able to reflect, especially, I guess, with the FA Cup as well, and so in your success in that competition.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a special cup for the club, and the other night certainly brought a lot of memories back to me, and the success we had back in 2001.
Because as well, especially with Wycombe being in the third round on Friday against Portsmouth, that seems especially special, doesn't it, to be at that stage? And I guess back in that cup run as well, did it feel that you were part of something special even at that stage of the competition? Yeah,
I mean, well, it's obviously a very hard competition now to proceed in, and they were playing a championship side on Friday. Watching the game, it was hard to believe actually that we, how far we did actually go back in that year, and yeah, it was such a great evening for the club on Friday. I mean, Wycombe actually looked like the championship side. I thought playing against the League One side. But yeah, it certainly brought back a lot of memories, especially the two big home games when we played championship sides, Wolves and Wimbledon that year. They were both sellouts at Adams Park, and yeah, the memories came back.
And no replays, of course, which obviously would be so different to outcomes of many games in years gone by as well.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure how I feel about the replay, how them banning replays, because obviously for lower teams it can be a big way to get some money in. Obviously Tamworth drew with Tottenham at the weekend, and that could have gone to a replay. So it's a bit harsh for teams that do so well and earn draws. But I think fans want to see a decision made at the first attempt.
And really nice as well for you to be back with the supporters again. And I'm sure many people spoke to you on Friday night about their memories of you playing for the team as well.
Yeah, it was nice. I saw a few familiar faces. It was nice to answer some questions from people, and yeah, it was just nice to be back at the club. It's such a warm place to go back to. It was nice to take my son. He although he's been before once, it was nice to take him back, and I hope he was listening. I told him a few old stories. I think he got bored at the end, but yeah, it was nice to reminisce.
And do you especially kind of look out for midfielders and how they're doing as well, especially for Wycombe as well, and obviously having played in that position yourself? Yeah,
I mean, I always look in there to see who's playing. I thought the two guys who played centre in the middle for Wycombe on Friday done extremely well. I thought Wycombe as a side looked so dangerous going forward, so much pace and power. But the two guys who played in the middle, I thought they had a good game. Portsmouth controlled a lot of the ball first half without really hurting Wycombe. But yeah, as I said, Wycombe probably at the end of the night looked like the actual championship side playing against a League One side, and hopefully next season that's where they'll be.
No, absolutely. And of course taking on Preston in the next round, which again is another championship side, and as we heard from Phil, it's not exactly a glamour tie, I guess, but certainly one that Wycombe would feel they can win.
Yeah, so it's a difficult one with the draws, because sometimes you're obviously looking for the big names to be drawn out, and that's what everyone's hoping for. But when you get a draw like Preston, although that will be a difficult game, it's certainly a game I'm sure Wycombe, although they've obviously lost Matt this week, it's a game I'm sure they can go into hoping or thinking they can get something.
Did you feel that when you were playing? Were there kind of a particular level of team that you hoped to get out? I mean, obviously there are teams like Grimsby and Wolves and Wimbledon that you played as well, and Leicester, obviously.
Well, I think that year it was as we won more games in that competition, the confidence just grew. I spoke to Phil about this on Friday night. We had such a good dressing room that year. We had a lot of leaders, a lot of men, if you like, people like Paul McCarthy and Jason Cousins and Andy Rammell. And I think although we rode our luck, we then started to just build momentum. Certainly at home, I felt as if we had home draws, we could beat anyone at Adams Park, which we did. And we just seemed to, any moment where we needed a bit of luck, it seemed to go our way, especially the penalty shootouts.
And the manager gave you such belief as well.
Yeah, I mean, Laurie was great, and Gibbo, they were great that year. They instilled a lot of confidence in me and the team. We played with freedom, and as I said, the more we went on in the competition, we sort of played without any fear, and it was great fun.
And I bet you could have never imagined that on Friday night you'd be watching the last game that Matt Bloomfield would have been in charge. And I guess that might reflect, from your time where, there's been perhaps managerial change or uncertainty among the team or unsettling sort of factors. Yeah,
I mean, it's a shame he's gone. They've done great this season. He's done a great job. And although he's gone to Luton, I feel as if the club's in a great position now. Again, chatting to Phil, the club has new owners, new training ground, better facilities, some big signings coming in. So it's an attractive job now, the Wycombe job, and I'm sure there'll be some big names in for it.
And nice for you as well, I guess, because we're talking about comparatively not that long ago, and to see how far the club has come, and it wasn't too long ago that it felt like that they'd struggle in League One, but now second in the table and considered one of the top sides in the division.
Yeah, it just keeps progressing. I know they had a stint in the Championship a few years ago under Gareth Ainsworth, but I'm sure now if they got back in there, it's in a much better position as a club to actually maybe stay there and build upon that. So when they were in there a few years ago, maybe it might have come a bit early, and they're certainly in a better position now to maybe stay in there and build as a decent Championship team.
And obviously the investment from new owners, we've seen two Danish players come in this week alone, and it feels like something really special is building, especially with investment in the academy as well and the training ground.
Yeah, I mean it's a shame the academy fell away in the end. I was part of I think I was the second year of the old youth team, the old youth system, and I think it's so important for a club, a football league club certainly. It's so important to bring young players through. I know it comes with an expense, but I'm sure the club now are in a position to build this new academy and hopefully bring some good young players through. The two new signings, it's very exciting for the club. I remember when the club bought Darren Curry. I think he was the record signing, or it might have been Sean Devine, and that was £200,000, and that was huge money back then. But these two signings this week are a real statement.
Does it sort of surprise you how quickly the progress has been? As you say, the team in the Championship not that long ago as well.
It does. I think it's ready. I think the club's ready to sort of challenge to get back in the Championship again. Although you look at some of the clubs that they're competing with, like Wrexham and Birmingham. It's these are huge clubs with massive financial backing. I do in a way still see Wycombe as one of quite a small club, but I certainly think the way the owners and the ambition they have, I can't see why they can't achieve things in the Championship.
And I know obviously we spoke to you when we had you on before about obviously your memories and highlights, but what would you say really stands out from your time at the club?
I've got a few actually. I made my debut at 18 at Chesterfield under Terry Evans. He was caretaker manager. That was a special day for me, especially as I only found out I was involved the day before. That was special for me. But the main one is the win at Leicester at Filbert Street in the quarter-final of the FA Cup when Roy scored. And just, jumping on his back and pulling him down in front of the Wycombe fans.
And we touched on your legendary status clearly, but it must be so nice for you to been taken in by the fans and thought of so highly as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely grateful that they sort of looked after me and always backed me as a player. Hopefully I gave a bit back the time I was there. I was very lucky in the time I was there that we had a bit of success. But I think generally, the fans at Wycombe, and this is why I go back to the youth system. I think they backed every single young player that played, who came up, the likes of Danny Sender, Roger Johnson, Johnny Dixon. I think that the crowd and the Wycombe supporters have always backed young players, and it'll be good to see that moving forward.
No, absolutely, and really nice for you to kind of see players that you're playing with at the time develop and what they go on to do as well.
Yeah, I mean, a few of them went on, the likes of Roger and Danny, and they went on to have great careers. And I mean, League One is a good place to learn your trade. It's very different to, Roger got to the Premier League, and he done really well, and it's a good place for young players to learn their trade and develop. And as I said, hopefully Wycombe can bring a few more now through.
Really nice for you, I imagine, to be able to reflect on your time at the club and with real pride and what you achieved. Obviously, especially with that cup run, I'm sure you never tire of talking about that.
I've bored a few people with it. I'm still, I still bring it out now and again, and people look at me and normally in the pub after a few drinks. But I'll never forget, especially that year. I'll never forget that year. It was, it was something that was, I'll certainly never forget, and I'll never get bored telling my family about.
I was going to say, I can imagine your son will be like, "Oh, not that again, Dad."
yeah, he's definitely. I was. As we drove into the ground on a Friday, I was pulling out a few stories. It's he's 13 and he's at that age where he's just he's fed up now with them.
Is he following in his dad's footsteps? Will he be midfielder himself, do you think?
So Charlie plays. He's 13. He plays for Woking. He's a midfielder. Likes to pass it. So you could say we are quite similar in that respect. Hopefully he'll be better than me. I think I can. Hopefully I can guide him in the right way and help him learn and not make the mistakes I did.
A name to watch out for in the future.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, although there was a Charlie Lee, I think, that played for Leyton Orient. But there could be another one.
No, absolutely. And what do we find you doing these days?
Say that again, sorry?
What do we find you doing these days?
So I've got a stone and tiling business. I live in Woking. I have a daughter as well. She's 16, married to Louise. So it's something I fell into when I dropped into non-league football, and that's what I'm still doing now.
And do you still play a bit yourself, or?
So I've been involved in non-league football as an assistant manager and a coach. I haven't played for a long time. I'm now 44, but Charlie's taken up quite a lot of my time. So I'm putting all my spare time into him really at the minute. But maybe in the future I'll get back into some coaching.
I was going to say, how did you find that transition to sort of being an assistant manager and to really, kind of passing on what you've learned to other players and obviously now your son as well? Yeah,
I mean, I love it. I mean, for a long time, when I stopped playing, I fell out of love with it a little bit. I sort of needed a break. I played for so long, and I just sort of needed to step away for a few years. And then my son started playing, and I got asked to go into a few clubs and coach. And the bug soon come back, and it's a common thing that ex-players say about the dressing room and that, but as soon as you get back in the dressing room and you start talking to players and that, you soon get the bug back.
And I guess as well, because we've spoken to many ex-players from different generations of players, including, even recently celebrating 50 years since the club first got to the third round of the competition, but it must even kind of occur to you as how much the game's changed even in the time since you were here.
I mean, the game has changed a lot. I mean, I'd like to think I'd get more success if I actually played now. But the game has become a lot more tactical, a lot more technical, which is good. I mean, I watched the game on Friday, and I just think the quality of the football's a lot better. And I don't want to sound as if our old Wycombe teams weren't as good, but the ball was certainly on the floor a lot more.
It's fantastic to watch, as you say. Really great to see, such attacking style of player, and the fans really getting behind the team as well. And as you say, it's interesting to see what will happen next in terms of the new manager coming in and hopefully progressing even further in the cup competition, but also in the league as well.
Yeah, it'll be great. I mean, remember that year. Here's me talking about that year again. But 2001, we actually struggled against relegation when we were on that cup run. It's great to see Wycombe now having a cup run and also flying in the league. So yeah, long may it continue.
Oh no, we never tire of hearing about that time, especially. Brilliant to speak to you. Thank you so much, Lee, for your time, and really great to catch up with you again. And fantastic that you had that opportunity on Friday, and with your son as well, and to really reminisce about all those memories coming back in the FA Cup.
Thanks, Colin. Appreciate it.
Real pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Martyn Lee speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound, and don't forget more from the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Player Association on next week's show. Still to come in this week's edition, we'll catch up with Wycombe Wanderers women defender Emma Kern. We'll hear from Sam Grace as well, Wycombe's caretaker manager, and we'll tell you about a great event that the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation are putting on as well.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire, and on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. As mentioned, we'll hear from Sam Grace, the Wycombe caretaker manager, who's leading the team for the upcoming game, at the very least against Mansfield on Saturday. Also took the reserves for the Berks and Bucks Senior Cup defeat to Beaconsfield on Tuesday night as well. Let's briefly though turn our attention to the women's team, who themselves have had a new signing. Jordan Hersley-Atkins returns to the club. She was with the team pre-COVID and is back. Unfortunately, the first team lost to league leaders Ascot on Sunday in very cold conditions as well. Their first defeat in the league since the opening day of the season, and have been catching up with Emma Kern, who is one of the longer serving players in the team.
Yeah, it's my fourth season at Wycombe, so it's nice to see kind of the journey that it's been through since I first started in my first season. So yeah, we're in a good place.
And I know when we spoke to you before, we talked about your versatility. That must be nice for you to have played in different positions and to really sort of find out a bit more about in different parts of the pitch.
Yeah, it's obviously good to have an understanding of all of the positions on the pitch. So being able to sort of experience that myself and being able to play there has helped me to understand when other players are there, what they're expecting, and like how I can support them and help them on the pitch. And sort of the balls to play into them, the movement that they're making, it gives a good understanding between all of the players.
And what's been your overall view of how the first part of the season's gone so far?
It's been really positive. We had a really good lead up going into Christmas. The buzz around the team and the club, it was really high spirits. And yeah, everything was very positive. There's lots of progress, and it's been really nice. And really nice as well how the new players have settled in and their contribution, especially with goals as well. And that until this weekend's game, you were unbeaten before the opening game of the season in the league. Yeah, absolutely. We've got some really talented natural goal scorers within our team, and they've come in and they've slotted in and gelled really well with everybody. You can just see from the very first game the progression up until Christmas and how solid the team is together as one unit now. And the goals that they're all scoring, they've got a nice little tally. So it's been very entertaining, for us as players on the pitch, as the fans that come along and watch us. So there's definitely smiles all around. And I'm sure you're very modest, but what have been your thoughts on your own contribution so far? I feel like I come to training, I come to match days, I go to step on the pitch, and I do my job as best as I can, and do what I can do to contribute to the team and contribute to the results, and just keep my head down and keep working hard. And really nice to have another new signing at the club in Jordan as well. Yeah, it's really exciting. She's come in, and I believe she's been at Wycombe before as well, so it's nice to have her back. And yeah, she's come in and she's already kind of making an impact within training sessions. So it's really good. And a real credit to the group as well. We've spoken to so many of the new players who say, they don't feel new for very long. Yeah, I know. You see players all the time. You think, oh, you've been here for years, and then you find out they've only been here for a couple of months. So it just goes to show sort of us as a team, how we connect to each other so quickly, and it creates a really, really positive environment.
And I know as well, obviously, you played the league leaders, Ascot, and there was quite a build-up to that game as well with the Christmas break as well. But from the scoreline, it seemed quite a close encounter. Was that something you found?
Yeah, I mean, like, it was a tough game. It was always going to be a tough game going into it. You know, we felt like we had prepared. We was, you know, our mindset was in a good place going into that game. It was a challenge, and our effort was recognised there. And unfortunately, it didn't quite go our way, but it is a tough one to take, but there's plenty of learning curves to take from the game, and there was plenty of positives to take from it too. You know, playing against a team that, you know, for the last few seasons, they have been competing consistently for that top spot. They've been, you know, working hard and prepping to be up the top of the table for the last few seasons, and this, you know, is our first season really where we've been a part of that and competing with the teams at the top of the table. So, you know, it goes to show how far we've come and how far we've built, but also, you know, helps us to recognise sort of how far we still need to go in a way, and what we need to work on. So, you know, we are going to take positives from it. We're going to keep building, and as we go into our next games coming up.
And it was really cold as well, of course.
Oh yeah, it's freezing. I don't think I've ever played a game so cold.
It must be terrible as well, because I guess in a way you're kind of focused on the game and try not to think about it, but especially with training when it's cold as well in the winter, it must sort of take some of the enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, but you know, we come and we do what we do. Everyone still shows up. Everyone still works as hard as they can. You think about the cold for about 5 minutes, and then that's it. You shake it off, and your mindset changes, and you're completely focused on the job ahead.
And it's a really good point that you make that shows how far the team has come, you know, considering where you were in the table last season, and now you're in contention and challenging the top teams.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like, you know, Carl and the team, they've done amazing things with the squad. There's the new players that have come in have had instant impact. So it's exciting to be a part of it and to see how far we have come and where the journey is taking us as well.
You must be really encouraged by the fact that, you know, this defeat won't, you know, derail the rest of your season. In that, you know, I know when you've had a loss in the cup, you've responded really strongly.
Yeah, you know, I think we've all got a good mindset in terms of, you know, we take it on the chin, you know, and we reflect on it, and we go through it in training, we go through the analysis, and we talk it through, and we work on, you know, the potential mistakes that we made, or what we need to change, what we need to adapt, and we shake it off. We go into training, we work hard, and we go into the next game, you know, fighting, and we just kind of, you know, leave it in the past and move on and really work hard together.
But it really feels like there's a real sense of momentum as well from the results that you've had prior to the Ascot game, and just the progress that the team's making going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, you know, as I say, we had a really good build-up going into Christmas. You know, everyone's spirits were high. We were scoring plenty of goals. We were playing really nice football. So, you know, although the Ascot game can be seen as a setback, we're not going to take it as a setback. We're not going to allow it to knock us down. You know, we're going to be focused going into training this week, and we're definitely ready and prepared for the upcoming games.
And speaking to Cole on the show last week, he was saying that, you know, you as players really noticed the sort of increase in support that the team are getting and backing from the fans as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you hear them on the sidelines. They come home and away. They're supporting us on social media. You know, we see the comments all the time, and it's really nice just to hear them and to see them and to read the comments and see that the support is growing.
It's really nice for you as players as well to be, you know, inspirational, especially to young girls who kind of look up to what you're doing and will hopefully be doing the same in years to come.
Yeah, it's such a nice feeling, you know, especially, you know, our home games, we get mascots come in and you see their faces and you know, they're asking questions and they get excited when they speak to a player that plays in the same position as them, and it's just nice to have that feeling that you are inspiring a younger generation.
And a real sense of pride, I imagine, throughout the entire team, as you say, of the real kind of progress that's been made and the development. It's an exciting time to be involved with the club.
It is, yeah. I know. I'm looking forward to the second half of the season, and the games can't quite come along quick enough. Like you're constantly thinking, like, all right, let's get into that next game. So there's a constant buzz, and it is very exciting.
And what would you say are the real kind of strengths of the side at the moment?
I just think everyone is just on the same page. Everyone has the same goals. We come to train and we motivate each other, and we've got a good bond, and we have that sort of a good dynamic of having a laugh and enjoying ourselves, but also having that switch where we focus and we support each other in that sense as well, where we're sort of driving each other just to push each other and do better all the time.
Well, it's been great to speak to you again, and wish you all the best for the upcoming games.
Thank you very much. It's good to chat to you again.
Great having Emma Kern on the show, and wish her and the team all the best for their away game on Sunday at Woodley, another of their top promotion rivals. Wycombe Wanderers Women, of course, coming under the umbrella of the foundation, and Wycombe Wanderers are excited to invite you to an interactive quiz night, which is raising money for the foundation's first ever dementia cafe that will support those living with dementia and their carers. It's taking place on Thursday, the 30th of January, between 5 and 8 in the evening at the Hyundon Retirement Village, but it's no ordinary quiz. Get ready to engage all of your senses. There's an audio round, challenge your ears with music and sound clues. There's a visual round, test your eyes with picture and video puzzles, and a smell round. Really? Which is a one-of-a-kind sensory experience. Sniff the player shirt. No, I've made that bit up. No, there is a smell around though. And also, you'll be able to enjoy delicious food and drinks, which will be available on the night, as well as amazing raffle prizes will be able to be won as well. Check out the Wycombe Wanderers website for more details of that event, and support that if you can. You've probably been listening throughout the show for this next bit. Sam Grace, who of course looks after the B team, the development side, and is currently in temporary charge of the team. He's been speaking to the local media this afternoon, including myself and Sam Avery.
Sam, obviously, welcome to, I suppose, the interim role at Wycombe, a club I guess you know really well, having been here before, and then Reading, and then coming back to take charge of the development team. How's the last week been? Because obviously, I guess an intriguing last few days with everything that's gone on. How have you sort of managed to keep everything together?
Yeah, it's been a really busy week. From being told Monday afternoon that they'd like to take over, as you said, in the interim period. We're already at that point planning for the Tuesday night cup game, so had to make sure that the development group players got the support they needed and the focus for that period. But also in that time, suddenly you're watching all the Mansfield footage, and it's one of those tasks that you're prepping for a team. You can't complete it. You can always watch more. You can always see. So having that clarity in terms of looking about how they build, in the different thirds of the pitch, how we like to stop them, but then also how we think best that we're going to play. So yeah, going through that, and then delivering training, obviously with that focus. So that was the Tuesday morning before the game, in the evening, and making sure that it wasn't just a generic session; it was specific to playing against Mansfield. And then the focus on today, looking at how we want to defend against Mansfield, and then presentation before we go out on the pitch, and then the delivery, which has been, I've got to say, supported fantastically by my staff, and Callum, the analyst, has been really, really helpful in this process.
How different has training been for you compared to how you work with the development players and how you have been over the last few years? Because I guess you've had games with the B team and had to prepare for different games. How different is this preparing for a League One fixture in a sort of first team environment?
I think probably the biggest difference is when, as much as you want a team cohesion and structure, the focus is on the individuals when we work with the development group. So the formation will be picked to get as many people in their best possible position so that they can have their best game. So if we had a look across the last 5 seasons when we played this game, sometimes we could be a 4-2-3-1, sometimes it could be a 3-5-2. We want to give everyone that best possible chance, whereas the game at the weekend, it's like, how do you get the win? And that's the team now comes first. It's not about development. It's about getting 3 points. That's the most important part of it.
What sort of relationship did you have previously with the first team? Obviously, as sort of development head coach, did you have much of a relationship with the first team prior to this week?
Yeah, so typically there'd be, our model has been having development group players training as much as we can with the first team, so to get them up to speed. So, they're in and amongst it. So I've got a good understanding of, our first team players, the methods and processes that have been used this year. So we're trying to keep as close to that as possible, with obviously some slight difference based on the opposition at the weekend. So, I might take a technical session to lead into the start of the first team training, finishing practices at the end, extra work, and then on Tuesdays and Saturdays, match days, for those that are not in the squad, I take a session for those. So it hasn't felt like a huge step. It's not maybe like a traditional club where you'd have maybe a 21s coach who's been working completely separately, and now he's got a whole new set of players to learn and meet to a greater degree.
For yourself as well, has it been enjoyable the last few days? Stepping into this role, I guess stressful, but enjoyable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge, and I think I think most people start that coaching journey. The only way you grow and get better is that next bit that's a little bit outside your comfort zone. At one point, taking a group of under sixes is a step out your comfort zone because you've not done it before, and it feels like a logical progression. It doesn't feel like several levels have been skipped. So yeah, whilst it is a new step up and there's a lot more questions, and I think you have to have more answers. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it so far, and I'm looking forward to the weekend.
And on Saturday at Mansfield, will that be a proud moment for you to sort of walk out with the team in that role? Obviously, way back in 2008, I think it was, you first joined Wycombe as a sort of youth team coach, and then when the youth team got disbanded, went to Reading and come back to Wycombe to work with the B team. So I guess this has been a long time coming from you. You've had a longer affiliation with Wycombe than what people maybe realise.
Yeah, you've done your research very well, Sam. Yeah, we're just actually talking to Phil, and it's even before then. Dad used to take me down, used to watch Martyn O'Neill teams win 4-0 every week at home. It was great to see. Jim Kelman took me through my coaching badges, worked with Andy Robinson, the ex-player. So yeah, Wycombe's always been close. And then obviously when you start working what was then the centre of excellence, that affinity to these players, and the club grows. Stepping away, when they close, it was like a personal loss, if I'm honest. All those hours in, it was more than just a job. It's a real passion project. So when Gaz offered me the opportunity to come back, it wasn't a hard decision. And again, that love for the club grows again.
And just finally, has there been any sort of word from the board or Dan Rice as to what the next few weeks might look like for yourself? Has there been a time frame for this interim period as I guess they look for a new manager, or will you be given an opportunity? Have you had any sort of conversations like that?
At the moment, it's just take it on a game to game basis. If anything changes in the meantime and someone gets appointed, then obviously we'll do our best to support them. But there's not really a longer time frame or shorter time frame placed on it.
Great stuff. Cheers, Sam, and best of luck Saturday. See you then.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sam.
Sam, would you say it's been particularly perhaps unsettling, obviously, this week for perhaps yourself, but also for the players, or do you feel that you sort of coped quite well with the what's happened?
I think any change there's a degree of uncertainty for different people. So I think that there's always going to be a small element to that. What I would say though is the group is incredibly focused. I think you could take the manager away as much as they're going to help and support. And they are an important part of it. The team still want to get promoted. They still want to. We've assembled a group here that have high levels of, as I said, internal motivation. They want to perform to their best in all moments. So yes, it's been a bump, but I don't think it distracts them from their overall target for the season.
Does it feel like you're sort of carrying on Matt's work in a way, or are you looking to sort of bring perhaps changes of your own as well?
Yeah, I think you try and keep both processes in terms of how we deliver, timings, strategy as close to possible, because it's the easiest way to be cohesive on the pitch at the weekend. There's always some slight differences and nuances based on who you're up against that week, but we're not making fundamental changes. I think we'd be asking for trouble if we did that.
And just finally, what will be your message to supporters going into this game on Saturday?
Well, thanks for your support so far this season. It's been tremendous, and the boys appreciate your voices and your noise and your support. So yeah, please come to Field Mill and give us as much as you can.
Real pleasure to speak to you, and all the best for Saturday. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Colin.
Brilliant chat to Sam Grace. Thank him for his time, and fantastic to hear from Captain Jack Grimmer a little earlier on as well. And also big thanks, of course, to Martyn Lee for his time. Wish Sam and the team all the best for Saturday up at Mansfield. Hopefully we'll get a great result there. Join us next week on the show as well, where we'll hopefully get some brilliant reaction from that. And you never know, there might even been some more signings in the January transfer window. Might even have a new manager. Anything could have happened in the next 7 days, couldn't it? Especially as when we were speaking last week, we wouldn't have anticipated what's happened in the past week. Thank you so much, Lee, for having us on. Have a great week, and continue to back the team. Don't forget live commentary on Wycombe Sound on Saturday from 3.